Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, Donald John Trump.
The election that stunned the world. Despite trailing in the polls, despite losing the popular vote, Donald Trump defeated Hillary Clinton in one of the biggest upsets in American political history.
God bless America. Thank you.
This brutal campaign heralded a new era in political warfare in which social media is the crucial battleground, fueled by vicious personal attacks, funded by billionaire mega-donors and targeted with pinpoint accuracy. And one British company claims it was responsible for mastering this new field, paving the way for Trump's victory.
Kansas, Louisiana, Texas.
Cambridge Analytica.
Is that immediately recording?
Yeah.
Last night, in the first part of our 4-month investigation, we revealed how CA works in elections around the world. Honey traps and bribes targeted at politicians.
Send some girls around to the candidate's house.
Hiring ex-spies to dig dirt.
I know people who used to work for MI5, MI6.
Spreading misinformation online.
These are things that don't necessarily need to be true, as long as they're believed in.
And secretly intervening in the democratic process.
No record exists with our name attached to this at all.
Tonight, the company's CEO, Alexander Nix, tells us how they put Donald Trump into the White House.
Have you met Mr. Trump?
Many times.
You have?
We did all the research, all the data, all the analytics, all the targeting. We ran all the digital campaign, the television campaign, and our data informed all the strategy.
Mark, always a great pleasure to meet you. Huh?
Great pleasure.
Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Huh?
Till next time.
Goodbye, gentlemen. Goodbye.
Cambridge Analytica can help you run more cost-effective campaigns that reach more voters and deliver more votes.
CA claims to be the largest and most significant political consultancy in the world.
I'm with you, the American people.
They boast that they won the election for Trump, accessing a vast pool of data, the names and email addresses for 230 million Americans. For each, they could access thousands of layers of personal information and craft a message to persuade you individually that Donald Trump should be your next president.
I'm a strong woman. He loves strong women. Strong women love Donald Trump.
They use this micro-targeting to maximum effect, enticing voters onto the Trump train with a social media blitzkrieg of memes, videos and messages.
Hillary Clinton, a danger to national security. Can we really trust Hillary Clinton as commander-in-chief?
We went undercover as political consultants looking for help with an election campaign in Sri Lanka.
Good luck, Taki.
We asked CA to pitch their blueprint for our victory.
Good afternoon.
No, hello.
Mark Turnbull.
Mark Turnbull.
Very pleased to meet you.
How do you do?
Roger.
We met them 4 separate times in a series of meetings at posh London hotels. From the start, the company was keen to claim credit for securing the votes that decided the election in Donald Trump's favour.
When you think about the fact that Donald Trump lost the popular vote by 3 million votes, but won the Electoral College vote, that's down to the data and the research. If you did your rallies in the right locations, you moved more people out in those key swing states on election day, that's how he won the election.
He won by 40,000 votes in 3 states.
Only.
Yeah.
The margins were tiny.
Cambridge Analytica emerged from a British company with a background in military intelligence and psychological warfare, with experience in conflicts like Libya and Afghanistan. About 5 years ago, it began experimenting with how you could use data taken from social media sites like Facebook to build voter profiles. Steve Bannon, then the editor of the right-wing website Breitbart, and his financial patrons, the billionaire Robert Mercer and daughter Rebecca, heard about the company's work. They invested millions in a new US spin-off called Cambridge Analytica. Bannon became a vice president. They kept it small at first, slowly building their profile until suddenly the presidential election loomed. In June 2016, the Trump campaign was flailing. Its coffers were empty and the team was in chaos. The Mercers decided to step in and they offered Trump a huge cash injection, but they insisted that he hire Steve Bannon and their company, Cambridge Analytica. At our meeting, the managing director explained the secret of their success.
There's no good fighting an election campaign on the facts, because actually it's all about emotion. The big mistake political parties make is that they attempt to win the argument rather than locating the emotional centre of the issue or the concern and speaking directly to that.
CA explained a twin-track approach. Positive messages went through the candidate's official campaign, but the nasty stuff was pushed through outside organisations.
As part of it, sometimes you want to separate it from the political campaign itself. So in America, there are independent expenditure groups running behind the campaign.
What is that?
Super PACs, political action committees. Yeah. So campaigns are normally subject to limits about how much money they can raise, whereas outside groups can raise an unlimited amount. So the campaign will use their finite resources for things like persuasion and mobilization, and then they leave the air war, they call it, like the negative attack ads, to other affiliated groups.
Hillary Clinton's lies put our country at risk.
This was part of a campaign by Cambridge Analytica called Defeat Crooked Hillary.
Too crooked to be president.
During our third meeting, Turnbull revealed how they came up with the idea.
And the brand was Defeat Crooked Hillary. You remember this, of course, right? Yes. Crooked Hillary. And the zeros, the OO of crooked were a pair of handcuffs. And it was all about...
Like prisoner.
She belongs behind bars.
And you have created this.
Defeat Crooked Hillary. And then we made creative, hundreds of different kinds of creative, and we put it online.
The concept of Crooked Hillary was promoted widely on social media, including Facebook, Google, and YouTube. CA boasts the online videos were watched 30 million times over. But users would have been unaware they came from the Trump campaign, since it was made by an independent organisation called Make America Number One.
Make America Number One is responsible for the content of this advertising,
which is funded directly by the Mercers. The problem is, coordination between a candidate's campaign and these groups is illegal under US election law. Cambridge Analytica say a strict firewall divided the two and that they've been open and transparent. But the Campaign Legal Center in Washington has filed a legal complaint with US regulators alleging Cambridge Analytica's activities, in fact, broke the rules.
This video seemed to provide further evidence for this notion that Cambridge Analytica did indeed act as a conduit for sharing information between the Super PAC and the Trump campaign, and that is illegal.
But even beyond that, by its own words, Cambridge Analytica has, it seems, a particular expertise in spreading negative messages without anyone knowing where they came from.
Sometimes you can use proxy organizations who are already there. You feed them. They are civil society organizations.
It's like charity groups?
Like charities or activist groups, and we use them. Feed them with material, and they do the work. We just put information into the bloodstream, to the internet, and then watch it grow. Give it a little push every now and again, over time, to watch it take shape. And so this stuff infiltrates the online community and expands, but with no branding. So it's unattributable, untrackable.
If you have a campaign or a billionaire-backed super PAC quietly seeding messages into the social media or online ecosystem, voters can't know where that message is coming from, and they also can't know whether the secretive billionaires that may have funded those messages are later gaining influence with the campaign that those messages benefit.
CA's crooked Hillary onslaught wasn't only about turning out unlikely Trump voters, it was about turning off potential Clinton voters.
Washington insiders rigged the system, and Bernie never had a chance. More corruption.
Directly targeting Bernie Sanders supporters to discourage them from voting for her.
There was a new kind of campaign that was being run on the other side that nobody had ever faced before. Because it wasn't just all about me, it was how to suppress voters who were inclined to vote for me. When you have a massive propaganda effort to prevent people from thinking straight because they're being flooded with false information, and you have people who are searching, trying to make sense of it, but every search engine, every site they go into is repeating these fabrications, then yes, it affected the thought processes of voters.
It was only after Donald Trump's victory that alarm bells sounded over the scale of disinformation during the election. First, American intelligence agencies confirmed that Russia had hacked the Democrats. Then it emerged that Russia was behind masses of fake news and adverts on social media. Now, the FBI and Congress are investigating whether the Trump campaign or anyone working for them actively colluded with Russia to win the election. Facebook, too, was forced to take a closer look. They uncovered thousands of messages posted from Russian-linked accounts. They reached 126 million Americans, but they purported to be from activist groups and civil society. Now, legislators on Capitol Hill want Facebook back to answer more questions over the data grab of 50 million profiles to Cambridge Analytica. Could that data have been accessed and exploited by third parties, they ask, including entities in Russia? Even before the latest Facebook revelations, Hillary Clinton told us that she wants to know if CA helped the Russians to target those messages.
So you've got Cambridge Analytica, you've got the Republican National Committee, which of course had always done data collection and analysis, and you've got the Russians. And the real question is, how did the Russians know how to target their messages so precisely to undecided voters in Wisconsin or Michigan or Pennsylvania? That is really the nub of the question. So if they were getting advice from, let's say, Cambridge Analytica or someone else about, okay, here are the 12 voters in this town in Wisconsin, that's whose Facebook pages you need to be on to send these messages, that indeed would be very disturbing.
Director, if you would please rise. I will begin by...
Special Counsel Robert Mueller, the lead investigator for the FBI, has reportedly asked CA to hand over all the staff emails from the Trump campaign.
The discussion about Cambridge Analytica working with proxies to inject certain messages into the internet bloodstream or into the internet ecosystem, that overlaps a lot with what we know about Russia's role in promoting particular messages and divisive messages in the 2016 elections. And certainly the House Intelligence Committee and other investigators looking at Russia's influence in the 2016 US elections have spoken with Cambridge Analytica, and I would presume that this is something that they're going to be looking at much more closely.
Cambridge Analytica strongly deny any involvement in the alleged attempt by Russia to meddle in the 2016 election. Yet members of several congressional committees have requested the company hands over information about its links with foreign actors and powers. But during our last undercover meeting with the company, we received an assurance. CEO Alexander Nix telling us that CA will not give US investigators any information about its foreign clients.
I'm absolutely convinced that they have no jurisdiction.
So if the US people ask you, are you working for these people? You will say, no, we don't know them, no?
You say none of your business.
You don't talk about our clients.
You say none of your business.
The way that Nix describes his appearance before the House Intelligence Committee, well, they hardly understand what it is they're trying to investigate. The Republicans, he said, appeared barely interested.
I went to speak to them.
Yeah.
And the Republicans asked 3 questions. 5 minutes. Done. And the Democrats asked 2 hours of questions.
And you have to answer everything.
No, it's voluntary, but I did because I'm trying to help them.
Right.
We have no secrets.
Right.
They're politicians, they're not technical.
Right.
They don't understand how it works. They don't understand because the candidate is never involved. He's told what to do by the campaign team.
So candidate's the puppet.
Always.
Right.
But in every election. Well, nearly.
So for Democrats, this is like the sour grapes. They're saying...
Yes. Sour grapes. It's exactly what it is.
Whatever the investigation, whether it's the FBI, Congress, or even the British authorities, CA appears to have a plan in place to avoid scrutiny. Nix says they use a secure secret email system which destroys emails 2 hours after they're sent.
I'd like you to set up a Proton Mail account, please, because now it's getting quite sensitive.
Yes, of course. So if somebody asks for emails as evidence, Proton Mail you must not give, no?
Well, no one knows we have it.
Oh, I see.
And secondly, we set our Proton Mail emails with a self-destruct timer.
Right, okay.
So that you send them, and after they've been read, 2 hours later,
they're disappearing. Okay.
And you can do the same.
Yes,
so
we can do that, yeah?
There's no paper trail, there's nothing.
Okay. All right. That is...
Got a note of that.
No doubt, some of CA's claims about the Trump campaign are nothing more than self-serving sales patter. But the company's admissions about polluting the bloodstream of the internet with poisonous, anonymous material raises serious questions not only about the last election, but whether future ones will be fought in the same way.